And welcome back. Welcome back. This is Dr. Dwain Woode, and I'm continuing my series on apps and devices that I use. In this series, we're going to be talking about the Dexcom, and specifically, we're talking about the Dexcom G7, and I'm talking about the software. Now, I've done shows where we talked about how to put it on and so forth. And in our last show, we talked about generally what continuous glucose monitors are. Make sure you go back and you watch those. Watch that one. I will go ahead and do a brief kind of description of continuous glucose monitors, and then we'll hop into what the monitors actually do or how this app works. Now, remember, as we are working through our new year, new you, or whatever phase you're watching this, right? You may be watching this in the replay. It may be, in another year. Go ahead and put hashtag replay so we know where you are. But anything that you're going to change, you want to make sure that you are monitoring. And as we are putting our diabetes in remission, as we're working on our weight, working on our cholesterol, hypertension, metabolic syndrome, and all those things that we talk about, you want to make sure that you're watching, monitoring, and making decisions based on data. And that's what the continuous glucose monitor does for us. Now, you will also remember that, and let me pop over. Yeah, here we go. So I also have a just a regular monitor that I use. This one happens to check both ketones and also checks for glucose. We're not going to talk much about, or we're not going to talk any about this today, but know that the continuous monitors are replacing or have replaced these monitors. So the technology continues to improve. And now we've gone from just a finger stick or having access from just a finger stick to the continuous monitors. And while the continuous monitors, like this one is my Dexcom right now, it says continuous, but it's really not continuous. It is interrupted, but much more frequently than we would be able to get from this guy, right? So we could get the same data from this, but you'd have to be sitting at home and checking your blood sugar every 1 to 5 minutes. Okay? So the continuous monitor, while it's not continuous per se, it is much more frequently than what you can do with your finger stick. And right now, my Dexcom says that my blood sugar is 151. So what I want to do is I want to walk through the app itself and just kind of talk about where we are. This is the main screen of the Dexcom once you pull it up. It shows your blood sugar there, and you'll see that black arrow that's off to the right of the 151. That black arrow says that my blood sugars are stable, so they are in a continuous range, and they've been kind of stable there. If I saw that arrow pointing upwards, that would mean my blood sugars are rising, and if it was pointing downward, then it would mean that my blood sugar was going down, right? It was dropping. The other thing that you see here on the screen, you see the little plus, and with the plus you can actually add events, right? So you can add a glucose, like if I had checked my blood sugar with this monitor, I could add that in there as a glucose finger stick and actually calibrate it. And in the old days, many of the devices required calibration. Nowadays, they don't really require calibration. You can if you want to. The other thing that you can do is you can put an event there. If you're taking insulin, if you're on insulin, you can record it when you take it at that in that second part. If you're eating, you can add the carbs, and let's go ahead and hit that one for a minute. You can just basically put the carbs in there, how many carbs there are, right, and the date and time. Let's go back to the plus, and then down at the bottom you see activities. Now I'm going to go ahead and add a note, and the note that I'm going to put in is I'm going to say demo show. Boom. So go ahead and I'm going to confirm that. And that information is now saved in my in the system. Okay, moving down on the screen, in terms of looking at the graph, I can change the number of hours that I see. So right now it's set at 24 hours. Let's go ahead and change it. This is what the last 3 hours have been, and you see that's pretty linear, right? So relatively stable. This is what 6 hours looks like. And you'll see down there where there's that break. That break probably means that for some reason let me see, did I change this? When did I change this? No, I didn't change this today. So that break can mean one of several things. The system wasn't reading during that time, or I was away. Now it should have saved the data. So I'm not sure why there's that big of a break. And of course, 12 hours and then 24 hours. Okay, so you can change that. If you click on this little thing here, you can change the alerts. Right, you can change at what point this system will alert you. And right now, I'm set to have an alert if I go below 70, or if I at 70 and 250. Right, I can set whether I want it to vibrate, which is what I have mine set to, or whether I want it to be silenced. Moving down the screen, this is the Clarity app, or Clarity. There is, and I'll show you what the actual reports look like on the website here in just a minute. But once again, for this, it gives me a basic summary of what's been going on with my blood sugars. And you'll see there an average blood sugar, which is 131, what my glucose management indicator is. And I kind of think of that kind of almost like a surrogate estimated A1C. Then below it tells me the percentage of time that I'm in range, percentage of time I have a low blood sugar, and the percentage of time that I have a high blood sugar. So right now I'm 94% in range, 0% low, and 5% have been high. Okay. I think that's all I want to say here on this screen. I can go to the history. And in history, there is that note that we just put, demo show. Okay. And I don't have any other events. Under here, you can see the connections. Right now, my sensor has 7 days left. If I click on that, then you will see all kinds of other things that I can look at there. When the sensor was started, when the sensor is going to expire, I can replace the sensor. I can stop the sensor. I can, if you see there right now, my device is my smartphone. Okay, I don't have a receiver paired, but if you don't have a smartphone, there's actually a receiver that you can use. Let me see. I think I have one. Hold on. All right, so this is. And let's go ahead and put it over here. All right, so this is the box for the receiver. This one is actually closed. So actually, let me see if I have I don't think I have an open one, but that's another show. Okay. But yeah, you can use a receiver if you don't have a phone. But most people have smartphones nowadays, so yeah. All right. So continuing to scroll. Okay, connected devices. So here at the bottom, you see it says share, right? So I can actually share this with people. So if your husband, your wife, your auntie, your cousin, if you had got a child away at school and you want to help them manage their blood sugars, they can share with you in this area right here. And you basically send them an invitation, and then they can say yes, and they get to connect with you. All right. And then, of course, on the profiles, my alerts. All right. So right now I have it set to vibrate. Urgent lows are below 55. Low is 70. High is 250. I can set it to go off if my blood sugars are rising fast or falling fast, and I don't do that. Yeah, for people who are prone to low blood sugars, that may be a good feature. Signal loss. So like if I leave my phone here and I go to my son's room, which is across the house, then it can alarm, but I don't have that. Brief sensor issue, like if something's going on, like that case where we saw the break. That may have been a good time when this would have alerted me. Technical alert if there's something going on with the system. And you can also add other profiles, which I don't, right now, I don't do that. So that's the profile. And then, there's some help information there about, it shows all the different information about the sensor and the reader and so forth. Contact information, data consent, help, and feedback. Okay. So that's basically, let's go here. There are some features that they talk about that can prevent the app from working, and things like screen time, low battery power. Well, not prevent, but it can hinder the best use of it. You can actually have Siri. So let's hop over now and let's take a look at what our monitor or our reports are saying. All right, so let's hop over there right now. Let's take a look at this guy. All right, so this is the report for the Dexcom, and if you've been following, we've been doing our check-ins for our fasting, and I've gone over some of this with you, but we're going to run through this. This is the main overview page, and on the overview page, you'll see, once again, my average blood sugar, and that's the same information that we saw on the mobile app, right? So here's the blood sugar, average of 132, and that's over the course of 14 days. A glucose management indicator down there at 6.5. Over here, time in range between 70 to 180, and so 93% of the time I've been in range over the last 14 days. Let's see what else is on this screen. Yeah, so down at the bottom, so this section right here, so it says we found a pattern during this date. The best day was on the 14th. That's Valentine's Day, right? So once we get over there, we'll see if we can find that day and we can take a look at it. All right. And then along the side, these are the different reports you can look at, right? So right now we're looking at the overview report. There is this is the patterns, and this is the 14-day. All right, so best day. Actually, there it is, right? So February the 14th, and let's see if we can look at these numbers. Yeah. So as I scroll my mouse, you'll see what the blood sugars have been doing. So it kind of stayed at 92, 93 up until right about here. And then we kind of climbed. Right. So that was, I took my wife out to dinner, and we're eating. Right. And then, yeah, so that was the best day up until, was that 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then it started to climb. And as we got into the afternoon, I forgot what time we went. Yeah, 'cause I think we met right around 5 o'clock, actually. Okay. So on this day, my average blood sugar was 105. And it says that I was in range 100% of the time. And so remember, once again, the range is 70 to 180. So even though the blood sugar climbed, I think this was probably the highest, 166. Or maybe let's see what this one was. Yeah. So 166 was the highest it got. And even though that's a high blood sugar, it's still within the target range because the range was 70 to 180. Right. All right. And so continuing with our reports, let's see. Let's go to trends. And so this is a composite of all 14 days. And so it'll, if you scroll through here, it'll give you what the average is. And then the gray lines that you see that are going up and down from that average, those are the percentiles. So I think 25th and 75th percentiles. And so, yeah, so, and once again, down at the bottom, Dwain's best glucose day, which was the 14th. If we go to overlay, what it basically does is it takes each of the days within the target, within the period that we're looking at, and it will put that graph on, or they will graph that day on this graph. And so you can isolate each of those. Each of these colors is a different day. Okay, and you can kind of trace that straight across. So that's what the overlays will do. So that one there, that's week number 2, and then week number 1. So 7 days on one graph and 7 days on the other. And then, of course, you can go over here All right, and say, hey, show me Wednesday of that week, show me Friday of that week, and it will just show you that particular graph. The one that we've been kind of looking at is this graph where it gives you each of the days. And right now, so this is today. And so we've been hanging in the 140s to 150s. Right, and there's that break that we saw, and then out into the rest of the day so far. If I go back to yesterday, so this was yesterday, so we started out in the 120s for most of the day, and then right around here, that's probably lunchtime, and we went up, and we kind of stayed up into the 140s. If we go back to Friday, remember, Friday was the last day of my 72-hour fast. And so for the most of the day, I was in the 70s to 80s, maybe 90s. And then I broke my fast right here at about, 6 o'clock. Actually, it was after 6 because I was doing the show. I was doing the check-in at 6 o'clock. So I didn't start eating until maybe 20 minutes later. And so then we start to see those blood sugars rise. And so that's Friday. And then going backwards, this was Thursday of that fast. This was day number 2 of the fast. And then, of course, Wednesday was when so Wednesday was the first full day of the fast. And right here is where I actually changed my Dexcom, right? So that's where I changed it. That was on Wednesday. And then I started the fast Thursday night, right about 6 o'clock. So right about here. Okay. All right. So back to our, I'm gonna go back up here. So compare. So I can compare, if that pulls out right. So I can compare days, weeks, right? So this is comparing 14 days starting January 29th to February 11th. And it's comparing it to February 12th to February 25th, okay? And I could see that during this first 2 weeks, my blood sugars were much better, or the range, the deviation was tighter, right, than here. So these blood sugars are looking like they're higher. So this one, let's see, time and range, average blood sugar was 132, and then over here, if I look, average blood sugar of 113. All right, so let's take a look at these statistics, and you'll see there blood sugars were over the last 2 weeks higher than they were over the first 2 weeks of the year. Okay, 98% versus 93 in target. And so we're still using the mobile app. So let's look at some statistics. And that's loading it. Now, this is a very interesting graph because here's statistics for 14 days. And you see there's a lot of data on this, right? So I can break it down. So time and range, right, which is the green that you're seeing on top there. Percentage high, percentage very high. What's in range, lows and very lows. And number of readings. Right, so number of readings for that day, 562. Right, that's what I said. You can do this with the finger stick, but you're going to be doing a lot of finger sticks. The lowest that it was during that time was 72. The highest it was 199. The average 128, and the standard deviation was 38. So if we go out here, and it gives you this to you by days, right? So if you look at these numbers, so on Saturday and Sunday, my blood sugars tend to be higher. Remember that Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, those are my fasting days. And so higher Sunday or Saturday, Sunday, because I start eating on Friday night. Saturday, of course, I'm eating. Sunday I'm eating, Monday I'm eating, and then on Tuesday evening is when I typically start my fast. Now this report right here is the one that I look at. I shouldn't say this is the one I look at. I look at most of them, or all of them get printed out for me. But when I'm seeing a patient in the office, this is the report that I tell my team to make sure that I have. So this gives me a summary of what the blood sugars have been over in this type where it says time and range. It gives me the glucose metrics, right? So average blood sugar with the glucose management index should be, it gives me a coefficient of variability, like blood sugar is averaging 100, but the variability is, I don't know, 50%, right? So that means that these blood sugars are going very high and going very low, right? And then the time the CGM is active. Sometimes people will come in and the range over here says 100%, but they just wear it for 1 day. Right? So it's a 10-day device. And then, of course, down here, the ambulatory glucose profile, or the AGP. And this is where it gives me the average blood sugar. That's the dark green line that's going through there. And then gives me the variability, the 25th and 75th percentile ranges. And then each of these boxes is a 24-hour period. And so within the box, it gives me what that day's profile looked like. Okay, so 7 days on top and 7 days on the bottom. And then patient glucose ranges, so I can click on that and it will give me basically kind of settings, right? And I can go in and I can adjust these. So for example here, 70 to 180 is what this is set at. I can reset it, I can change it. Right, so day and night, I can set when day is, when night is, what the lows are. Remember I told you that the alarms, very low alarm, very high alarm, I can change those as well. And then down at the bottom, what does in range mean? So I can change that to show me a different range. All right, so that is basically the Dexcom system. You have, if you're out there and you are diabetic, of course you may know about these. You may even have one. If you are not diabetic, you would need a prescription, and well, everybody needs a prescription to get one, but your insurance may not cover it. I think these are amazing devices, even for people who are not diabetic. And so, as I said, anything that you're going to track, you want to make sure, anything that you want to change, you want to make sure you're tracking. And this is a great opportunity, a great way to track what the blood sugars are and to be able to see what certain foods or activities do for your blood sugars. As we are working to put our diabetes in remission, reversing diabetes, how do we adjust our medication? What type of medication do we need? As we're fasting, all of that is information that these devices can help with. Okay, I'm told by some of the companies that they are creating versions of the continuous monitors that don't require prescriptions, and so you'll be able to just get these over the counter. I can't wait for those to show up. In the meantime, talk with your doctor. Say, hey, I would like to get a continuous monitor. I'm not diabetic. I would like to, whatever it is, I'm tracking my food, I'm tracking my weight, I'm working on improving my metabolic syndrome, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and I want to know what my blood sugars are doing based on the activities, based on the food, based on sleep, based on stress. All of that would be beneficial. Okay, so that's the Dexcom. It is a good device to have. If you've not already done so, you can go back and watch the show that we did on the Libre. We'll come back and we'll do shows on other, and right now we're kind of walking through the software that I use. The Libre 3 software we looked at, the Dexcom software we just looked at, or G7 software we just looked at, and we'll come back and do others. Putting your diabetes in remission, reversing diabetes, getting off medication, titrating your medication to as low as possible. That's where we're heading, y'all. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Woode with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, we educate, empower, encourage you to take charge of your health, your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new year, new you. We'll see you.